Starseed of Gaia, the ache behind your ribs when you wake, the heavy skull, the sudden tears in rooms where everyone else seems normal, are not random, and the Council speaks now as a decree because the window of hiding is closing. I am Adria, Pleiadian emissary, and I come through the silver corridor of our people to the one who has been tired of Earth, tired of pretending, tired of carrying a name that never fit the shape of the soul beneath it. By the end of this transmission, you will understand why the pressure has increased, why confusion has surrounded your choices, why old relationships feel like tight garments, and why your exhaustion is not the end of your light, but the last veil around your star mission. As we walk this remembering, know that the 12 Pleiadian keys, unlock the star mission encoded in your soul, is named for you, and the link sits in the first pinned comment. Here is the first revelation. Your pain has not been punishment, failure, or proof that you are broken. It has been the compression of a galactic code trying to rise through human conditioning, through the false voices that taught you to shrink, obey, overgive, apologize for your frequency, and call your sensitivity weakness. You did not come to escape the body. You came to anchor the heavens through your body, through your choices, boundaries, words, work, love, and acts that turn awakening into form. If this decree touches the place in you that remembers, comment, I am ready to activate, like this transmission so it reaches the hidden starseeds, still doubting their fire, and subscribe, because your mission requires remembrance. The first layer was placed upon you before you could question it, when the people around you were still teaching you what was safe, acceptable, useful, and worthy of love. Family fear entered through ordinary sentences, through warnings spoken by tired parents, through the command to be practical, quiet, agreeable, and grateful for whatever place was offered to you. Schools trained your attention toward performance instead of presence. Religious systems, social customs, and authority structures taught you to distrust the direct knowing in your chest and to search outside yourself for permission to exist. None of this means that every person who shaped you intended harm. Many were repeating wounds they had inherited, defending themselves against a world that punished difference, and handing you the tools they believed would help you survive. But survival tools become prison bars when they are never removed. You are also covered by the emotional residue of the collective, by wars remembered in the bloodline, by poverty fears, abandonment fears, shame around the body, silence around intuition, and the ancient belief that a human being must struggle endlessly before receiving rest. You absorbed the atmosphere of homes where feelings were swallowed, workplaces where truth was traded for approval, relationships where your kindness was treated as an unlimited resource, and cultures that measured value by productivity, appearance, obedience, or possession. Then, because your field was open, you often mistook what you sensed for what you were. You carried grief that belonged to ancestors, panic that belonged to a parent, confusion that belonged to a partner, and guilt that belonged to systems designed to keep people divided from their inner authority. You were not weak for absorbing these frequencies. You were sensitive because sensitivity was part of your assignment, but no one taught you how to separate reception from identification. There is a reason this transmission found you today, and it is the same reason I set down the 12 Pleiadian keys, unlock the star mission encoded in your soul. You have felt the pull for years. You absorb every room you walk into. And when someone asks what you are here to do, you still cannot put it into words. Not because you do not know, but because no one ever gave you the language. That is what the 12 keys are, 12 openings, and the exact order they are meant to open, ending with your mission written in a single sentence you can say out loud. This is not about becoming worthy of it. You already carry it. Every month you wait, you live a smaller version of a life that was assigned to you. The link is in the first pinned comment below. Now listen carefully, because the cleansing does not begin by attacking your past. It begins by observing it without kneeling before it. You are not required to condemn your family, abandon every familiar place, or turn your history into an enemy. You are required to recognize what is yours and what was merely deposited in your field. When a thought rises and says, I must keep everyone comfortable, or I will be rejected, ask whose voice it is. When your body tightens before speaking honestly, ask what consequence you are expecting. When rest feels dangerous, Ask who taught you that your value disappears when you stop producing. These questions are not small. They are instruments of disentanglement, and each honest answer loosens a thread from the net that has covered your star code. Here is the second revelation. The confusion surrounding your life has been a sorting chamber, not a sentence. You have called yourself indecisive because several paths opened at once. But the deeper truth is that you were learning to distinguish the vibration of obligation from the vibration of recognition. Obligation feels loud, urgent, and crowded with imagined disappointment. Recognition can be quiet, almost tender, yet it leaves a clean current through the body. During your preparation, the world presented you with doors that looked successful from the outside, but made your spirit contract when you imagined walking through them. You were not failing to choose. You were being trained to feel the difference between a life that earns applause and a life that carries signal. This is why certain seasons seem to dismantle your plans without explanation. A job ended, a friendship faded, a romance revealed its limits, a city no longer felt like home, or a dream you once chased suddenly became hollow. You may have interpreted these events as evidence that you were cursed, late, or incapable of maintaining stability. Yet the Council has watched the architecture of your life being cleared so that it could stop holding a false identity in place. The structures that depended on your silence could not remain when your frequency began to rise. What left was not always bad, and what remained was not always meant to stay forever. But every disruption exposed an attachment between your worth and an external arrangement. The pressure increased because the old identity needed more energy to survive. A person who has spent years pleasing others may feel panic when they first say no. A person who has been the rescuer may feel useless when another adult faces the consequences of their own choices. A person who has hidden their gifts may experience shame when attention finally turns toward them. A person who has been told to be realistic may interpret a clear inner calling as irresponsibility. This is the nervous system reacting to freedom as if freedom were danger. You must understand this. Starseed, discomfort is not always a warning to retreat. Sometimes it is the body releasing a command that has been repeated for so long it became chemical. Do not demand that the mind approve the next step before the soul takes it. The mind was trained by evidence from the old world, while your mission often begins with a small act that creates new evidence. You send the message. You apply for the position. You protect the morning hour. You stop explaining a boundary to someone committed to misunderstanding it. You place your art, healing, teaching, invention, or presence where it can serve another person. The action may look ordinary, but the frequency behind it is new. You are no longer asking, what will keep me safe inside the old identity? You're asking, what choice allows my real signal to become visible here? In the first phase of activation, your task is not to reveal your entire mission. It is to stop feeding what obscures it. Notice the conversations that leave you fogged, the media that keeps your fear activated, the habits that numb your perception, and the promises you make while your body is quietly saying no. Create spaces in which your own thought can be heard. Sleep when the body requests restoration. Drink water. Walk without a device. Place your hands on your chest and let one truthful sentence arise without correcting it. The star code does not descend only during visions. It expresses itself through the simple discipline of becoming available to your own life. Here is the third revelation. Your exhaustion has been the cost of performing an identity that was never designed to carry your frequency. You have not merely been tired from work, responsibilities, or the demands of a physical life. You have been tired from translating yourself constantly, from adjusting your volume so others would not feel challenged, from smiling while your inner world was asking for change, from sensing the unspoken needs of everyone around you and treating those needs as commands. Hypervigilance can look like kindness when it has been praised for years. You learn to scan faces, tones, silences, and small shifts in energy because belonging once seemed dependent on your ability to anticipate danger. But the activated starseed does not abandon compassion. The activated starseed removes compulsion from compassion. You can feel another person's pain without volunteering to become its container. You can understand why someone behaves defensively without permitting their defense to injure you. You can honor the history of a loved one and still decline the role they assigned you. This is where many light bearers hesitate, because they confuse a boundary with rejection and self-respect with selfishness. The old world trained you to believe that love proves itself through access. The new frequency teaches that love can include distance, silence, consequence, and the refusal to participate in a pattern that diminishes both souls. Your relationships will therefore become mirrors of your activation. Some people will celebrate the clearer version of you because your clarity gives them permission to become clear themselves. Others will accuse you of changing as if change were betrayal. They may call your boundaries cold, your standards unrealistic, your intuition dramatic, or your withdrawal an act of superiority. Do not rush to defend yourself. A boundary does not require a courtroom. You may speak plainly. I am not available for that conversation. I will decide when I have enough information. I care about you, and I will not continue this pattern. I need time before I answer. These sentences are gates, and every gate teaches your energy that it has a guardian. The second phase is the purification of language. Listen to the words you use when describing yourself. If you repeatedly say, I am bad with money, I am always exhausted, I cannot trust anyone, I am too much, I never finish, I do not belong anywhere, the body receives these phrases as instructions. You are not asked to pretend that difficulty does not exist. You are asked to stop turning temporary conditions into eternal identities. Say instead, I am learning to manage resources with steadiness. My body is asking for a new rhythm. I am practicing discernment. I am making room for relationships that can meet me honestly. I am completing what matters through smaller, consistent actions. Language is not decoration around your mission. Language is the bridge by which your mission enters the human field. In the third phase, you will feel the desire to simplify. This may appear as a sudden refusal to maintain clutter, obligations, explanations, or social performances that once seemed normal. You may want fewer possessions, fewer conversations, fewer opinions entering your mind. Do not confuse this with failure or isolation. The star code becomes easier to read when the signal is not buried beneath constant noise. Its simplicity is not an excuse to disappear from the world. Your mission is not protected by hiding forever. It is strengthened by choosing what deserves your attention and then returning your attention to it repeatedly. Here is the fourth revelation. Activation is not a dramatic event that removes every human problem. It is the moment your spiritual knowledge begins governing your practical behavior. You may have sensed for years that you came to heal, guide, create, connect, protect, translate, teach, or awaken. But sensing is the seed, and embodiment is the tree. If you know you are here to bring peace, then peace must influence the way you answer a difficult message. If you know you are here to restore truth, then truth must shape the agreement you sign. If you know you are here to support the vulnerable, then your calendar, spending, skills, and boundaries must make room for service that does not destroy you. This is where many starseeds become frustrated. They wait for a celestial assignment while ignoring the human assignment in front of them. They ask for a sign, but the sign is the conversation they keep postponing. They ask for their purpose, but purpose is forming in the work they are willing to practice before recognition arrives. They ask when the mission will begin, but the mission begins when a choice is made in alignment without an audience present. No one may applaud the meal you prepare with care, the addiction you refuse to feed, the honest apology you offer, the invoice you send, the course you complete, or the person you stop chasing. The universe records these moments as coordinates. Your physical body is not an obstacle to your galactic identity. It is the receiving chamber. If you neglect it, your visions become unstable, your emotions become difficult to interpret, and your gifts scatter into fantasy. Eat in a way that gives you steadiness. Move enough to circulate what has been frozen. Seek professional care when pain, depression, anxiety, or exhaustion require skilled support. There is no spiritual failure in medicine, therapy, medication, or practical assistance. The Pleiadian path honors every form of intelligence that helps consciousness remain present in matter. You are not here to prove that you can suffer without help. You are here to become useful to life. The fourth phase is the creation of a daily anchor. Choose one practice that joins the invisible with the visible. It may be writing the day's essential truth before touching your phone, placing your feet on the ground while naming the quality you will embody, speaking one honest request, or dedicating 1 hour to the skill your mission requires. Keep the practice small enough to survive an imperfect day. Repetition matters more than intensity. A starship does not navigate by one brilliant flash, it navigates by a sustained signal. Your repeated choices are broadcasting who you are becoming to your body, your relationships, and the field around you. The 12 Pleiadian keys can serve as a map in this stage, because the language of the keys helps you turn an inner recognition into a clear mission you can practice rather than merely admire. Here is the fifth revelation. The part of you that feels late is measuring time with human comparison, while the soul measures readiness by integration. You look at another person's platform, partnership, income, family, confidence, or visible contribution, and decide that your delay proves you missed the opening. But you have not seen the private preparation beneath their public expression, and you do not know the route assigned to their frequency. Your path required you to descend into places where borrowed identities could be removed one by one. It required you to know the loneliness of being misunderstood, so you could recognize the lonely without demanding that they perform strength for you. It required you to experience limits, so you would stop offering limitless access to your energy. The years that appeared empty were not empty. They were laboratories. In grief, you learned what cannot be taken from you. In confusion, you learned to wait for a cleaner signal. In betrayal, you learned that discernment is not bitterness. In exhaustion, you learned that devotion without boundaries becomes self-erasure. In solitude, you encountered the voice that remained after applause disappeared. You may not have chosen every lesson, but you transformed each one by surviving it with your capacity for meaning intact. That is why the present moment feels so charged. The material has been gathered. The instrument has been tuned. Now it must be played. Your mission will not always feel grand while you are doing it. The galactic memory in you may imagine temples, councils, advanced technologies, luminous cities, and civilizations moving as one mind. But Earth asks you to begin through human scale. A patient reply can interrupt an ancestral pattern. A fair business can alter how people experience exchange. A truthful book can reach someone who is preparing to give up. A protected child, a repaired garden, a conversation between estranged people, or a song created in the dark can carry a frequency farther than you can measure. Do not insult the small doorway because you were born with a large horizon. The fifth phase is courageous visibility. This does not mean exposing every private wound or announcing every mystical experience. It means allowing the qualities you are trained to hide to become useful. If you are perceptive, name what you see with care. If you are creative, make the thing before you feel fully qualified. If you are a natural organizer, build structures that protect the mission rather than structures that only serve other people's demands. If you carry healing presence, learn the ethics and skills that keep your service clean. If your role is to challenge falsehood, develop enough compassion that truth opens a door instead of becoming another weapon. You will know you are entering this phase when opportunities begin arriving that require a stronger version of your boundaries. More people may seek your help. Your work may become visible. A former pattern may return wearing a familiar face and asking for one final compromise. This is not the universe testing whether you're worthy. It is life showing you whether your new frequency has entered your decisions. Do not say yes from fear of losing momentum. Do not say no from fear of being seen. Pause. Feel the cost. Feel the expansion. Ask whether the opportunity honors the body that must carry it and the values that give it meaning. Here is the sixth revelation. The mission becomes irreversible when you stop waiting to feel fearless. Fear may remain in the room, but it no longer sits in the commander's chair. You can tremble and still speak. You can doubt and still begin. You can grieve and still serve. You can be unfinished and still offer something real. The false condition says, first become completely healed, certain, wealthy, admired, and protected. Then you may step forward. That condition was designed to delay you forever. The true condition is simpler. Bring honesty, humility, willingness, and one available action. Begin where your feet are. Look at the next 7 days, not the next 7 lifetimes. What choice would make your home more truthful? What conversation would restore dignity? What promise to yourself has been postponed long enough? What skill, if practiced for 30 minutes each day, would make your service more effective by the end of this year? What relationship requires a boundary rather than another explanation? What object, habit, or commitment belongs to an identity you have already outgrown? These are not ordinary questions to the Council. They are activation coordinates, and your answer is the first visible shape of the mission. There may be a final wave of grief as the old self understands that it will no longer be the center of your life. Let that grief move. You are not betraying the child who learned to survive. You are relieving that child of duties it was never meant to carry forever. Thank the part that stayed alert, but tell it that your adult consciousness is present now. Thank the part that pleased everyone, but tell it that belonging built on disappearance is not belonging. Thank the part that expected loss, but tell it that discernment can protect you without closing every door. This is how compassion becomes an instrument of transformation instead of another excuse to remain asleep. And when the next morning arrives with the same body, the same bills, the same unfinished tasks, do not assume that nothing has changed. The frequency has changed because your relationship to those things has changed. You will wash the cup with less resentment. You will answer the message without abandoning your center. You will leave the room before your spirit collapses. You will place your attention on the work that carries your signal. You will let the right people meet the real you in gradual, grounded ways. You will notice that the mission does not descend from above as a command separate from your life. It rises through the life you are finally willing to inhabit. Now you stand at the threshold where remembrance must become responsibility. Because your mission was never given to you merely so you could feel special, comforted, or separate from the human family. It was given so that through your presence, something more truthful could enter the places where fear has ruled for generations. Every boundary you keep with love, every honest word you speak without cruelty, every choice that refuses to feed an old pattern, and every act of courage that brings your inner knowing into the physical world becomes part of the restoration you came here to serve. The Council wants you to understand this clearly. Your awakening matters beyond your personal relief, because the earth receives what you embody. When you stop hiding your light, another person remembers that hiding is not their only option. I decree this over you now with the authority of the Pleiadian stream that has watched you journey across lifetimes. You were never broken. Not in the years when you could not explain your tears, not in the seasons when your energy disappeared, not in the relationships that made you doubt your worth, and not in the confusion that came before your deeper identity rose into view. You were never late. The timing of your activation was not a failure measured against someone else's path, and no human calendar has the power to declare that you missed your moment. You were never forgotten. Even when silence surrounded you, even when signs seemed distant, even when you carried your questions alone, your frequency was known, guarded, and continually called forward. Let those words enter the places where shame has built its temporary home. You do not have to earn the right to begin. You do not have to become perfectly healed before you serve. You do not need a flawless history, a fearless personality, or the approval of people who benefit from your confusion. The mission begins with the next honest step taken by the real you. It begins when you stop negotiating with the voice that tells you to wait until you are less sensitive, less visible, less intense, or more acceptable. It begins when you recognize that discernment is not rejection, rest is not laziness, and a quiet life can still carry a powerful transmission. Your soul does not measure impact by noise. It measures impact by alignment. This is why the pressure you survived was not meaningless, even though I will never ask you to romanticize the wounds that shaped you. The pressure revealed where your energy was being spent without consent. The exhaustion showed you which identities could not continue. The confusion interrupted the scripts written by family, culture, fear, and inherited limitation. The loneliness exposed the difference between being surrounded and being met. Now you are being asked to use that knowledge with maturity. Do not return to the same places simply to prove that you are healed. Do not keep offering your life to those who only recognize the version of you that is useful, silent, or endlessly available. Your mission requires energy, and energy requires stewardship. There will be people who misunderstand your new clarity. Some will call your boundaries selfish because they benefited from your absence of limits. Some will call your purpose unrealistic because their imagination has been trained by survival. Some will feel threatened when you no longer perform the role they assigned to you. Meet them without hatred, but do not hand them the authority to define your path. Compassion does not require self-abandonment. Forgiveness does not require renewed access. Love can remain in your heart while distance remains in your life. This is not a contradiction. It is one of the first signs that your spiritual consciousness has entered the body instead of floating above it. Anchor your frequency in ordinary actions. Put your phone away when your nervous system asks for quiet. Eat in a way that honors the vessel carrying your light. Keep the promise you make to yourself, especially when no one else is watching. Organize the room where your mind repeatedly collapses. Finish the task that has been waiting for your courage. Tell the truth before resentment turns it into an accusation. Choose work that does not require you to betray your deepest values every day. Let your finances, calendar, friendships, home, and language reflect the identity you claim to remember. A star mission that never reaches behavior remains an attractive idea. But a star mission lived through behavior becomes a field that changes every space you enter. You may wonder whether the world is ready for what you carry. I tell you that readiness is not the question placed before you. The question is whether you are willing to become trustworthy with your own frequency. Can you hold power without using it to control? Can you speak truth without making pain your identity? Can you remain open without becoming unprotected? Can you receive support without believing that dependence makes you weak? Can you let success expand you without allowing recognition to replace devotion? These are the tests that refine an emissary. Not dramatic visions, not constant signs, but the patient ability to bring a higher pattern into a difficult conversation, an imperfect workplace, a family gathering, and a private decision no one will applaud. Your activation may look smaller than you imagined, and this is where many starseeds abandon the doorway. They expect a trumpet in the heavens, a sudden public confirmation, or a mission so grand that ordinary life disappears beneath it. But the council tells me that your next assignment may be to leave one harmful agreement, create one honest offering, protect one morning of focused work, or tell one person the truth with love. The magnitude is not always visible at the beginning. A seed does not resemble the forest it contains. Your consistent choices create a signal, and that signal gathers the people, opportunities, and circumstances capable of meeting the mission you are ready to carry. If you feel called to go further, the 12 Pleiadian keys, unlock the star mission encoded in your soul, is waiting in the first pinned comment. 12 keys in the order they open, ending with your mission in a single sentence you can say out loud. Enter it, not as someone asking permission, but as someone ready to name what has been moving through their life all along. Let the words you discover become a mirror, not a costume. Let them clarify what your pain was teaching, what your gifts have been protecting, and what your presence is now prepared to offer. The deeper remembrance is not about escaping the human story. It is about reading the hidden pattern within it and choosing with both feet on earth to live from that pattern. The preparation phase has ended because you have already gathered what you need for the next step. You have endured the stripping away. You have questioned the inherited names. You have felt the old frequency loosen from your thoughts, your relationships, your body, and your future. You have reached the moment where waiting can become another form of fear. So I ask you to rise without demanding that every doubt disappear first. Rise while your hands tremble. Rise while the plan is incomplete. Rise while the world still contains uncertainty. The Pleiadian light does not require you to be untouched by darkness. It asks you to stop offering darkness the throne. I am speaking to the part of you that is known, beneath every explanation, that your life carries a pattern larger than survival. I am speaking to the one who has felt out of place because your spirit was measuring the room by truth instead of by custom. I am speaking to the one who kept receiving inner instructions and then dismissing them because they seemed too simple, too bold, or too different from what others expected. That knowing is not an accident. It is the living edge of your mission. Place your hand over your heart and declare that you will no longer confuse fear with guidance, exhaustion with devotion, or rejection with destiny. Your life is not waiting for a better version of you. It is waiting for your participation now. And when you participate, you become a bridge. You bring the patience of the stars into human time, the memory of unity into divided rooms, and the courage of your origin into choices that once seemed impossible. You do not need to convince every person. You do not need to announce your identity to those committed to misunderstanding it. Your consistency will speak through the atmosphere around you. Your presence will make honesty safer. Your boundaries will teach respect. Your creativity will open doors for minds that have forgotten how to imagine. Your healed places will become resting points for others, not because you are superior, but because you have learned how to turn what wounded you into wisdom that no longer wounds those who come after you. This is your decree. I am ready to activate. Say it when you wake, when you hesitate, when the old pattern reaches for your hand, and when the next right action appears without applause. Comment, I am ready to activate, so your declaration enters the shared field and gives another starseed courage to speak. Then answer someone else in the comments with kindness, because your mission is not only to announce your own awakening, but to help another remember that they are not alone. Like this transmission, so it can reach the hidden ones still questioning their worth. And subscribe so you remain connected to the teachings, warnings, and remembrance still moving toward you. The door is open, the signal is clear, and the life you came to serve is already beneath your feet. Walk into it now.